a suspect who are being those Weibo police.
I bet you're behind the Weibo police, huh, Mr. Rose? That's your creation?
Shit. How did they know?
Oh! He's not even denying it! Jasky, quick!
What?
End him!
Where? You are being heard in the stream.
Oh, my bad.
You know what? I'm taking the easy way out.
What? No, Rose. Don't be chicken shit.
Okay, we were going to start now. Almost 1 hour of scary animated stories compilation.
Oh my god.
Wait, there's a scary stories from McDonald's.
Of course.
Okay, we're gonna watch.
Did not know?
It was about 3 in the morning, and I was
You
on
did
my
not
way
know
to my
that there's
job at
scary
my local
ones?
McDonald's to open with
Yeah,
one
they
of
have
my
scary
favorite
stories for everything,
managers
like
there
at the
with me.
park,
She told me to
alone
text
at
her when I
home,
got there so that she could let me
abandoned
inside.
buildings,
Once I pulled
Uber,
in, I noticed a man standing outside of
what
his
else is
car in the
there?
farthest corner of the parking lot.
the woods.
He was
I
shooting
like
me
the
this
variety,
sort of
though.
menacing stare.
The city,
Let
deserted
me
city,
point out that it's
becomes like Silent Hill
completely
all over
cold
again.
outside.
Walmart.
I was really confused as to why this
IKEA,
guy wasn't just sitting in his
Best
car.
Buy.
Silent Hill.
I then parked and
Hey,
texted
you
my
gonna get
manager to let me
Silent Hill
inside.
2 remake?
Seconds later, I noticed her at the door
I don't know,
opening
should
the
I?
door.
Mr. Ring?
Upon
If it
walking
was
up to
co-op,
her, I
I
say
would.
my usual good morning.
Silent
I
Hill
was
being
stopped
co-op?
mid-sentence by her rushing me
I
inside
need someone
and
to play
saying,
with.
"Did you see that guy
Oh my
outside?"
The
I
original
I
need-
told her
is
yes,
so
and
much
she
scarier,
proceeded to help me
It
refill
is, but I
sauces,
prefer,
napkins, and things like
I
that.
would love to play Dead
My
Space
manager
because it's a
then
co-op
told me that she's
game.
going to check the
and I
security
refuse
tapes
to play
just
by
to make sure
myself.
that everything
I
during the
wanna have
period that the
nightmares with
restaurant was
someone.
closed was okay.
The first one was pretty scary.
Minutes
I played the
later, my
remake.
Wait,
manager
is this a
called me
horror
to her office
story?
for whatever reason. She told me to
Yeah,
look
it
at the
should be,
screen,
'cause it
and
said
it showed
scary.
that the same man was standing outside. The time was 12:47. She
While
then
you're doing that, I'm gonna
fast-forwarded
do a
the
little bit
tape
of
to reveal
X1,
that the
try to
man
see
had
if I can
been
get him
standing
out.
outside the entire time up until now. And at this point, it's about 3:50
I
a.m.
refuse to do.
I ran to the front lobby and I noticed him still standing over by his car.
But Rose,
I figured, or
the
was
relics.
hoping, that he was probably just on something and he was waiting
The
for us to
relics
open so
quite
that
cool.
maybe he could get
I
breakfast.
already have the
I
Manderville
resumed
relic.
filling
I am
sauces again
fine
and
with
making
it.
sure everything was in working order,
Nice.
until I was
sounds the same.
abruptly interrupted by banging at the front door.
What the
I
hell?
walked over and noticed a figure right outside the front door.
What is he doing
It
this?
was the man. I yelled that we were closed and that he would have to come back later. That didn't seem to faze him as
I like how
he
they were
continued
back
to bang on
here
the door.
while they left
I
you.
walked away, figuring that he was just being an asshole, when suddenly I heard a loud crash. I ran to the lobby to see the glass door broken and the man
Is this
beginning to
is this
step
true
inside.
story?
I yelled for my manager and told her that
What?
we needed to leave through the back door.
Apparently.
And we did just that. We booked it to our cars and both called the cops. They arrived in about 15 minutes and came outside the restaurant with a dirty-looking man
A lot
in
of people
cuffs.
have like really good.
They said he was hiding in the
imagination
back
when it comes to
janitor's
stuff like this.
closet with a large knife in his hand. So that's my story.
But, like, there's
and
some
also
stuff
the
that
reason
makes
I'm
it like,
never
oh,
working early
uh,
mornings again.
Okay, it's fake because like there's some words that makes it like, oh yeah, that's fake. That's totally fake.
So this is the McDonald's horror story.
It was my first Halloween.
They
living
just
in
want
my
their
own house
chicken
away from
nuggets.
My parents. I live in a small corner house with a basement but no upstairs. A house my
For some
parents
reason,
paid
I
for.
love McDonald's
It was 11
fucking
o'clock
barbecue
at night,
sauce
and I
out of
was sitting
all.
in the
Oh,
living
me
room
too.
watching scary Halloween movies. When I
Do
found
you see
myself
the video
getting
right
to answer
now?
a knock at the door.
Yeah, I see it.
But then I stopped and thought, who could be at the door at 11 p.m.?
The one I hate
Surely there
in
were no more
McDonald's commercials, those
trick-or-treaters out.
fucking kids dipping
I had a pretty good
applesauce in
feeling it
barbecue
was a
sauce.
late-night Halloween
It
ding-dong
pains
ditcher.
me.
So I gave it a
Why?
second. Then I shot a glance to the porch through the window. They were gone already. Yup, ding-dong ditchers.
How the fuck?
I
do
sat
you
back
sleep
down
at
not
night?
thinking twice about it, and again, knocking at the front door.
Applesauce and nuggies.
Get lost, I yelled.
Bro, they
I was
dipped
not
that
in the mood for
sauce
punky
in
kids.
fucking barbecue
They
sauce.
ignored my demands and started pounding now, not just knocking.
My God.
I was pissed now.
Diabolical.
I leaped up and swung the door open. No one was there once again. I slipped on my shoes and headed
gonna be in my
outside to begin
apartment
searching the bushes for the
chilling.
kids. But there was nobody in sight. Not in the bushes, not
Go
behind
ahead.
my car,
It's
not
free.
across the street. I was done answering. I didn't want to feed into their fun anymore, so I went back inside, double-locked the door, and went to my bedroom, also locking that door, just to feel safer, I guess.
You could just insta-state to
Even
me.
over the TV, I could still hear the stupid kids
Huh?
pounding on my front door
Ada.
repeatedly.
Why would I be in Sarge right now?
I was so close to calling the
haven't
cops
moved
to
yet.
get them away, but that would undoubtedly lead to my house being egged or teepeed. The pounding continued for an uncomfortably long time, more than half an hour. I thought these kids must be filming something for
I have not
YouTube and
moved
were
yet.
desperate for a reaction.
No matter how much I
wasn't
want
gonna
to,
give
I
it to them.
can't.
At some point I dozed off with the TV on, only to wake up to the knocking again. I looked at the clock. It was 2 in the fucking morning. How?
What is up with you, Jesky? You're moving your head.
Because I become exorcist. Just kidding.
Oh shit.
I
shit.
become an exorcist.
The Exorcist.
I become an exorcist. Okay,
Of
I
course, it
continue.
could still be at it, I thought. I turned the TV off and sat up with my ears open.
Oh my god.
For a few moments, my heart completely stopped as I realized the knocking was not at my front door, but rather at my bedroom door.
Oh my
Jumped
god.
out of bed, looking around my room like a madman for something to use as a weapon. They knew I was awake now. They were trying the doorknob, trying to bust down the door.
See what happens
These
when you
weren't
don't
any
drink
kids.
your medicine, people? You
By
become
some
like
miracle,
that.
I came up with an idea.
Come like me.
It was a long shot,
that
but it
guy.
was all I could think of. I turned on the receiver to my speaker system, plugged in my iPhone, brought
He
up the
hasn't been
YouTube app,
drinking.
typed in 45 gunshot sound effect,
This is what
turned on
happens
the
when you
volume
don't play
and
Final
pressed
Fantasy
play.
for too long.
The sound of a gunshot echoed out of the speakers. It sounded real enough. I paused the video after the first shot and yelled, "That was a warning shot. Leave now or I won't hesitate to shoot you in the head."
Isn't that true?
And it worked.
You become
I heard 2
someone
pairs of
different.
footsteps stomping over my wood floors and out the front door. I gave it a moment before opening my bedroom door and peeking outside. They were gone, but the front door was left wide open. I quickly shut it, called the police, and that's where my story ended.
Oh my god, I'm going to do that.
What?
The guy did
Add a
was
bit of backstory. I was an active duty Marine a year prior to this.
Oh my
story
god, why is the voice actor for this story sounds like Crystal? Wait, I'm gonna listen to it.
happening. Granted, we're trained to take lives and deploy to other countries to fight. Sad to say that I never got the opportunity to deploy, but if I wasn't trained as a Marine, I honestly think I wouldn't be here telling this story. Now, onto this story. This story took place last year
Corpse
on a
Husband
cool
did this?
summer
What the
night
hell?
here in Arizona.
Yeah,
I just got off from work and took a coworker home from a late night dinner after the shift. I passed by a gas station after I dropped her off. I was working 2 jobs at the time, so it was already late, around 2 a.m. I knew an energy drink would help me wake up tomorrow morning for my next job. So I was slowly pulling into this empty gas station. I noticed no other cars
Why don't
anywhere.
you? What are
That's
you
when
gonna do
something caught
for
my
Halloween,
eye as I was
Crystal?
pulling
What
up
are you
in
gonna
front of the
dress up
entrance.
as?
There was a
mentally
shadowy
insane
figure
asylum
that suddenly
patient?
pulled up along one of the walls of the gas station and kept creeping along the walls, getting closer as I pulled up. There was some sort of shadowy figure that suddenly pulled up along one of the walls of the gas station. It
It's
crept
traditional.
along
You
the
gotta do
walls,
Ada,
getting
man. You gotta do
closer
Ada.
as I pulled up and turned off my car.
It's tradition.
But at the time, I couldn't care less because I was tired and I figured he was just a drunk and about to ask for change or something like that. I saw the outline of his face as he pulled away from the shadows.
Imagine
He opened
Leon
his
just
mouth
seeing
to
both
say
of them
something,
saying
but
who's who.
before he could say anything, I cut him off and said, "Hey, I'll
long
be
as
right
she's
back,
Asian.
sir." He just kinda stood there and
He's
stared at
Leon's
me as
into
I walked
Asians.
into the gas
It's
station.
true.
I wasn't even thinking about him because I was tired and just wanted to go home.
Nah,
I
he's into
swooped
Asian.
up my favorite energy drink and walked up to the cashier. I paid for my drink in a matter of a
They're trying to
minute as
colonize.
the cashier wasn't really in any mood to make any small talk. I pushed the entrance door open
Colonize.
and I noticed that the man was no longer there. I was
Bro,
looking
there's a
around
lot
for
of
the man
foreigners
as
over
I
here.
approached
It's
my
like, why
car
are
to
y'all
only see him
colonizing
coming
us?
from the
What
dark
did we
corner
do?
again. But something seemed off about him this time. I didn't care to stick around to see what was off about him and went to open my car door. Then I heard rapid footsteps
I'm
approach
upset
from behind
that
me.
the fucking machinist
I turned
guns
around
are
as fast
bigger
as
than the
possible to make eye
fucking
contact
gun
with him.
That looks.
He was just
I want
staring at me less
the
than an
one
arm's
that
reach away. Every
Limza was
option
supposed to
suddenly
have
ran through my
instead of
head,
an
screaming at
Ishgard.
me to just get in the damn car and slam the door.
Like a double
But he
barrel
was already
shotgun,
too
I
close
would
for me
want
to
that.
try anything without him trying to do something. So I wanted to try and create a peaceful conversation as a desperate attempt to try to
What?
get this creep away from me. I said, "Oh, hey, it's
You're in
it's you
Sarge?
again. Is there something I can do for you?" His whisper had a scratchy tone to it as he said, "Gotta need change." I was actually thrilled.
Oh,
I was
Jesse,
happy because
you
I could
wanna
just
join
give this
Crystal
creep some
fighting
money as a
Zoralja
peaceful
in,
resolution.
When he gets to
I
that
said,
area.
"Sure do. Hold on, I'll dig it out for you." By the time I grabbed a fistful of change as I leaned into my car, I heard the passenger door behind me open and then I
My
felt
God,
a
it's so
handful of my hair
creepy.
get pulled into my driver's seat. My hair got yanked
Why is
back
my
really hard
paralyzed
as he
demon cheating
whispered,
on me?
"You fucking scream or yell and I'll fucking kill you." Then I felt a
Why
knife
is my
slowly
sleep paralysis
glide over
demon
my
cheating
throat.
on me with this
He then
disgusting
whispered,
freak?
"Understand." I carefully nodded up and down. He then replied, "Now we're going to New Mexico. Don't do anything stupid or I'll cover your car's interior with your
Harder.
blood." At the time I was
You're
thinking,
gonna make me
fuck, this
scream.
can't be fucking real. So
Dude,
I had
imagine
to
being
think
held
and
hostage and
relax.
you're getting hard from
That's
that.
one thing my commanding officer said in the Corps. The key to victory is a clear conscience and a cool head. So I asked him,
Fist one out.
"Okay, how are we doing this? You just gonna give me directions?" I then felt his grip on my hair loosen. "Good, smart kid. I hate when they beg me to let them go. Now use your GPS or whatever." His knife was still gently pressed up against 70% or so of my throat. So I told him I was slowly going to reach into my glove compartment for my GPS. Then I asked him where in New Mexico we were going. He laughed and told me to just shut up and drive. Why was he laughing now? This guy was a complete psycho. I was there driving and praying in my head for a chance to open where I would be able to fight back. I could tell that his knife was starting to get loose around my neck for every 5 minutes or so that I drove. The knife at the start of this drive was at about 70%, but now it was at around 50%. I had to make a right at the intersection. Finally, I saw an opportunity. I saw this Ford Ranger pickup truck coming down the road I was supposed to join on. In my head, I asked myself, "Do you really want to die a coward?" Then, as I saw the Ford Ranger approach at a rapid rate, I pressed all the way down on the gas pedal. Then, boom. All I remember from all the commotion is the guy leaning back as I slid my hand under his wrist of the hand that was carrying the knife and pinned it against the steering wheel of my car. I can hear the horn blaring, attracting more attention. He let go of the knife and ran out of the car as the intersection made itself known to me again as my surroundings were no longer blurry. I wanted to run after him, but the driver of the Ford Ranger grabbed me and said, "Hey, what the hell happened? Do you have insurance?" I was trying to push through the guy to catch that fucking coward, but the only words that escaped my mouth were, "Don't let him get away." That's all I was yelling as I saw the dark silhouette of the man disappearing into the darkness.
Oh my
I
God, that
told
is
the
so
police
creepy.
everything when they arrived. I did everything you're supposed
what's
to,
creepy?
but nothing really ever
Praetorium,
came of it.
Unskippable.
And they didn't see anyone matching my description of the man. I now carry my gun on me. And
Oh yeah,
the
Crystal, did you
knives,
know that
so I will
Donald
never
Trump
be
has
the
a
victim of
Twitch
something
account?
like this again.
Years ago when I was in 2nd grade, I'm 22 now, my parents one morning finally felt confident in allowing me to stay home from school by myself and stay home without a babysitter until they came home. That morning my father gave me a house key, showed me the emergency numbers in the yellow book, and gave me instructions on what to do if stupid things happen like the house catching on fire. After school that day I came home, put the key in the door and walked into my house. I felt free, and I felt privileged that I was finally a big boy, and that I could now be on my own at home. Needless to say, I kinda got caught up in the moment, and ate tons of ice cream while watching Terminator on VHS, since my parents would never let us watch anything other than PG-13. Around 5 that day, I heard the doorbell ring. My dad told me to never answer the door by myself, even if they were home. I walked to our family room where I could get a good view of who was out there. Maybe my dad was just getting a package or something. He did always enjoy ordering things online. I saw a middle-aged man standing in a dark blue jacket that I've never seen before. He rang the doorbell again, and I expected him to leave after no one answered. After a
Don't
third
like
ring,
this.
I saw him walk down the steps and I assumed he was leaving. I went back to watching Terminator when I noticed something outside my kitchen window. The man was in our backyard for some odd reason.
Oh my god.
I felt scared for my life since some stranger was on my property. I ran under the kitchen table and grabbed the cordless phone from the counter and proceeded to call my dad's work number.
I have never
My
seen a
dad answered,
Mikote
and I
boy
exclaimed how
do
a strange
this.
man was in the backyard and was now proceeding to try and open the sliding door. My dad told me to stay where I was
have
and to call the
never
neighbors.
seen-
He would call 911. I
have
told my
never
dad I
seen
loved him,
such-
and he said he would call me immediately after he called 911. Before I could call my neighbor, the man was able to somehow open our family room window. I feared for my life and ran to the bathroom and locked the door and called our neighbors. After 30 seconds, I hear my neighbor running through our house, shouting my name to see if I was okay. She said that she saw no one in the house, and we stayed in the bathroom until the police arrived. The police conducted their investigation and told us that they found some fingerprints that matched a recently released convict who was previously in jail for breaking into homes. After that day, my parents did not leave me alone without a babysitter until I went to high school.
Oh my god, that is so scary.
Back in 2008, Cloverfield was one of the biggest movies of the year, and I desperately wanted to see it. Most of my friends had already gone to see it, which upset me, given that I didn't want to be seen going to the movie theater.
Hi, Colin. Scooby-Doo
alone.
episode ever.
However, I didn't have work or school on Thursdays. So on Wednesday night, I figured I could get away with going alone to one of the small theaters nearby with a screening of the film at 9:30, since I knew it would be quiet. Well, I showed up, bought a ticket, and immediately realized the entire building was dead.
Oh my
I
god.
entered the theater, and much to my surprise, there was not a single person in there. There were 2 large sections of seats in the theater. I sat in the bottom row of the upper section, which was seated just behind a tiny wall. During the quiet parts of the movie, which were very few, I kept thinking that I was hearing something coming from behind me. It was almost like I was hearing a voice. Is someone there? Nothing.
I want you
I
to
felt like the
bounce
sounds were
on
just getting
it.
louder and closer, but I kept turning around and didn't see anyone. I felt like I was losing my mind.
Hi, Bender Snow. I'm
Eventually, the
watching a
sounds became so
45-minute
loud
skit.
that it was
Oh my
as if
god.
somebody's whispering. I was about to nope the fuck out of there, but when I got up and took one last look behind me, a figure popped up quickly from behind the seats.
Oh
just
my
2 rows ahead of
god.
me, arms flat to their
my
sides
God.
and just facing me like a stiff statue.
Story of my life.
I ran like there was no tomorrow. Back
Why
to the
would you
lobby
watch
where
a
I sat
movie
waiting
alone?
for
Like,
the single
hello?
employee. I kept running to the car, took a few seconds to catch my breath once
They don't have a
inside,
date.
and drove back home.
Crystal,
I tried calling
look
the
at what I
theater that
sent
same
you.
night. I never got anyone to answer. I didn't bother the next day, and I just tried to let it go. It still freaks me out beyond imagination to this day.
Wait, what? Potential break in. That is so scary, Chibi. And your brother. I slept through by cackling his shot. Oh my god. These stories are scaring me out. I never thought this is.
I hike very frequently and was on a trail and about 8 miles from the nearest gravel road. It was just me and my dog. Just to note, I've hiked these trails frequently and have only seen other people during mushroom hunting season and only near where the
Is the
parking patches
volume
are, and this was in
loud for
January,
people to
so it
hear?
was freezing cold and there were no
Yeah.
mushrooms. I'd been going at it for almost 2 hours when I stumbled upon a pile of bones.
What the hell?
Large bones, bigger than human, maybe a cow, maybe buffalo, maybe horse. They were completely clean and sun-bleached. No flesh, no fur. I find deer remains all the time. They always have fur on their legs. This means someone or something cleaned them, or their old bones. The scary part is that they were neatly arranged into a pyramid shape, all leaning on each other like a teepee. I was just on this trail the week before and there had been no bones. There had also not been a giant dead animal and there wouldn't have been any rotting happening because it was 20 Fahrenheit. I stared at them for a while, then turned around and spotted more peculiarities. The tree behind me had several bones strung up and hung in the tree by the trail marks. They
Cannibal?
swayed in the wind and kind of clunked gently like morbid wind chimes. So this means it had to have been somebody and not some weird raccoons or something. I start to panic because does this mean that somebody's watching me? Am I being warned or stalked?
Oh my
I
god.
always go on a select few trails, and this is one of my most frequented, and never have I seen someone else out this far. The hairs on my neck stand up because I'm sure I'm in the crosshairs of some serial killer who's been stalking me. I walk with my headphones in. He could have followed me for weeks and I wouldn't have known. My dog freezes and points towards a
You
distance.
know when he said that I could have walked with headphones and he doesn't know that someone is stalking me? I don't understand why people do that in public places. Like wearing headsets, wearing big headphones, and then playing loud music, never hearing the crowd. Because the important thing is if you are outside, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Someone might
Of course.
yeah, like someone might stab you, like like they just want to stab you and were not able to defend yourself because you don't know, you didn't hear anyone approaching
It's
you.
never happened to me because I always have like super crazy anxious thoughts like that when I go out. So
That's why I
Oh,
always have
I
one
always try to be
headphones on.
careful.
oh, by the way, Crystal, no one will ever try to hurt you because 7 minutes less and they will
You're
be
so right.
okay.
Absolutely right.
One of my chats said that the most recent attempt was when someone was knocking on the windows to see if someone was there. Of course, I slept through it, but my brother knew something was suspicious, so he clacked his shotgun and saw the guy running away. And another time, a crook pretended to be looking for someone when he was caught by my brother for looking around the outside my house. So my brother answered to the guy, "Sure, I can bring him out." Then he clapped his shotgun and the guy ran away. Oh my god. Shotgun. I want that weapon because
Different large tree 10 yards
Which
away.
one? 12 gauge
The
or
hair of her
what?
scruff
Yeah.
rises and she
Flux.
starts to growl and
Shotgun's a
creep
shotgun,
toward the
and
tree.
Once you hear it crank, everyone leaves.
oh my
Everyone
god.
makes that sound.
Oh my god, if you hear someone doing that, like clacking a shotgun, you have to think of your life, for your future, because one headshot you're dead, and one shot on your knees, even you are a lalafell, you will lose your knees.
Lola fell.
Yeah.
I hate it when people go for body shots. Why not just go for the head?
I just said the head, bro.
Unfortunate for the Lola fell.
Yeah.
No, like in general, police or military men cannot go for headshots at
No,
all.
no. Actually, everyone, chat, in the Discord. Do you hear my Discord as well, chat? So technically, what I admire about the policemen in the States is they don't kill the criminals. Like they just like stun them and then we will bring you to, jail. Here in my country, they won't hesitate to kill.
They have like even in banks they have like shotguns
Yeah,
around them.
yeah, security.
Yeah, they carry slugs.
Yeah, security guards here in our country even have big shotguns in their arsenal. So you have to have second thoughts if you want to do some robberies. Okay, we'll continue this horror story.
I'm panicking. I have nothing other than my hiking stick. My dog barks once. She's 40 pounds, by the way. She's not an attack dog. And she starts sprinting towards the tree. I instinctively crouch down. She reaches the tree, and a turkey takes off from the other
The
side.
only thing I'm
gobbling
scared
as
if
it
I ever
flies
listen
away.
to scary
I
stories
can
like
still
this
feel my pulse in
is
my
The
eyes
Grudge.
as I watch it fly
I still
away.
have fucking
I sigh,
bitter
pet my
memories of
dog,
it.
and check to make
Sadako
sure I didn't
is-
shit myself.
She's a cutie.
I snap a
What?
few pictures of the weird bones and make my way back.
Oh my god,
That's
Sick and
when it's on the
Torgo.
bed.
The bones are still there, untouched. No way am I touching them.
Where are you
idea
going,
where they
Crystal?
came from. Probably some weird old
What are
coon
you,
trying to
what are you
scare
running
me.
around in Crystal
It
for?
definitely worked on me.
Why are you running around the ether, huh?
Paper
Huh?
towel. What kind of name is that? That's kind of a Lalafell name, but that's amazing.
Well, he has a
When I was
beagle.
just a little boy,
Oh my
I
god.
had an imaginary friend.
Imaginary
Well,
friend?
At least I thought he was an imaginary friend.
Imaginary friend,
Today, I'm
chat!
not so sure. I would see him from time to time around my house. He was a man and he lurked in the shadows. He was completely black from head to toe and his skin was charred and pockmarked, like a burnt match.
Huh?
I couldn't make out his face or any other features. All I could see were his red eyes. He had the most terrifying red eyes I've ever seen. And even now, when I think of them, it gives me the chills. He appeared at random and without any warning. I would be playing with my toys and all of a sudden he would be there.
Oh my
He never
god.
made a sound. He never said a word.
When the
He
internet
never
is
did
gone for
anything
2
except
hours.
stand there staring at me and smiling. Then he would vanish.
Why would he call him his imaginary friend if he finds him scary? What the hell?
As
The brain
quietly
really
as
just does
suddenly
that
as
to
he had
people.
come.
I remember I have a classmate back in high school. We don't know she has a third eye or a sixth sense. She is calling someone Charlie and he told us that Charlie is her imaginary friend and Charlie is a good looking European guy and we were like at first we were making fun of her like oh my god like she's very frustrated because she doesn't have a boyfriend and just making an imaginary handsome friend and we have proven that she is not lying because one of our teachers suddenly stopped talking when in the middle of a lecture and she was like class can you give me a moment please and then she went outside and then when she went back again like after I don't know like 10 to 15 minutes she was like I saw someone at the back of the locker over there and she point good thing I'm not near that area. She was like I saw some good looking guy with bluish eyes and I just don't like how he looks because he is glaring at me and looking for someone. And we realized that time that our classmate who is calling him Charlie is not around. Maybe he was looking for her. It was like, oh my god, she's not kidding. And ever since then, we didn't make fun of her anymore.
See what happens? See what happens?
What?
Y'all learned your medicine, huh? Y'all learned that the hard way, huh?
Oh my god!
Y'all learned that the
As
hard
time
way,
went
huh?
by,
No, no.
I
Lost the
got
shit.
accustomed to his presence. It got to the point where he would just appear and I would just glance at him. Then
What?
go back to playing with my toys. I could always feel his eyes as he was just standing ever so close and ever so far away at the same time. My family knew about him, but they never saw him themselves. My mother and father thought it was cute that I had an imaginary friend, but when I described him to them,
You're cutting out,
They got a
Crystal. I
little
can't hardly
freaked out.
hear you.
my sister was the only one who believed me. She's the only one who believed he was real, and she said it scared her. One time, I had just finished going to the bathroom and I started washing my hands.
Oh my
I
god.
was standing on a little stool so I could reach the sink. All of a sudden, I saw the man out of the corner of my eye,
Ooh!
looking up the stairs. called my sister and told her the man was here. She came running over, but just when I was about to point out the man, he walked backwards down the stairs until he was out of sight.
Oh my
He
god.
left. He came creeping back up the stairs.
What the?
I gave up trying to show him the people because he clearly did not want to be seen. Eventually, my parents moved out the house. I remember seeing the man with the red eyes watching us as we were moving and the van pulled away. He didn't follow us, and I didn't see him again after that. I dismissed him as a figment of my childish imagination. Years passed and I forgot about him. Then, one night, when I was 16 years old, I was walking upstairs to my bedroom. It was after midnight. As I was walking down the hallway, something emerged from one of the other bedrooms. It stepped out into the light and I realized, to my horror, that it was the man with red eyes.
Oh my.
I stopped in my tracks and I froze. My heart was in my throat. He just stood there staring at me.
What the hell is he
The
doing
red
there?
eyes burned bright and he flashed me a malicious smile.
Oh my god.
Still staring at me, he slowly walked across the hallway into my bedroom. If this was a movie, perhaps I would have chased him down and forced him to tell me who or what he was. Perhaps it would have ended in me fighting to the death, but this wasn't a movie. It was real life, and I did neither of those things. I simply turned around, ran back down the stairs, and fled from my house. I sat on the curb outside, shivering and shaking until dawn arrived. I haven't seen him again.
$1970s? Is the volume can be heard on stream? No.
Not really.
I don't know. I have the stream muted.
Okay. Oh, not that loud? Rose?
No, I said not really.
Okay. Let me check on my end. I know why. I forgot to set this up. I know why. I
told
forgot
him I
to set
had money
this up.
troubles, and
Oh, it's
coincidentally, he said the same thing. He seemed like a nice guy. We talked for about another hour before he decided to call it a night. Unfortunately, I never caught his name. I was about to leave the bar myself shortly after that when I heard over the TV that the lottery numbers would be announced. I decided to stay and check if I had won. Why not?
Did you won?
And would you believe it? I won $15,000.
Wow.
Of course, I was beyond belief with shock. And of course, I wouldn't need to go back home because I had money now. The next day, I saw something on the news that a flight had been hijacked.
Oh my god.
The plane was being held at ransom. It was the same flight I was going to be on. And I couldn't believe it, but The sketch of the guy they described who took the flight hostage was the exact same man I had been talking to in the bar.
What?
He used the name D.B. Cooper. If you didn't know, he threatened to explode the plane with a bomb unless he got $200,000, which he did, then jumped out of the plane with the money and parachute and was never seen again. I didn't know why, but I never said anything to anyone. Even if I could, it's not like I knew his real name. It was such a scary coincidence that the only thing that stopped me was the reason why I was in that predicament anyway. I needed money, and then I got some. It's strange how everything works out in life. When I was 17, I didn't have a driver's license. Most of the time I walked or hitchhiked. There was this one night. There weren't that many cars on the road, and it was very cold. And this man pulled over. When the guy pulled over, I took a good look at the guy and figured I could take him if he tried anything. He was on the slender side and had a strange frailness about him, even though he looked healthy enough. I got into the car after we agreed on the destination. We exchanged names and I warmed my fingers up in front of the heating vent. He spoke quietly, asking a few questions along the lines of, was I local and how did I like living there? He said he only been here for a few months, but found it beautiful and hoped he could find happiness there. That comment struck me as a little odd, but I brushed it off. It began to snow and the road quickly got slippery. So he slowed and he kept his eyes straight out the windshield, driving silently. I was okay with that, as small talk was never my forte. About 10 minutes later, I noticed the car near the intersection we were approaching seemed to be sliding, so I said, "Watch out." He immediately hit the gas, shooting through the intersection and burst out with, "Don't ever scream at me." Needless to say, I was taken aback. I said, "Look, this is close enough. Just pull over here and I can get there." He didn't seem to hear me. So I said, "Richard, did you hear me?"
Oh my
I
god.
said, "You can pull over here and let me out." But no response.
What's
He
happening
just
to you?
stared straight ahead, driving faster now than he did when it started snowing. To say I was scared doesn't seem to cover the depth of the fear that began to rise in me. I didn't know if I should stay quiet or speak, but I was damn sure not going to yell after his outburst. After about a mile, he began to mumble under his breath. I couldn't quite make out what he was saying, but I assumed he was speaking to me. So I said, "What did you say? I couldn't hear you." He began to speak quietly and rapidly, saying things like, "You're always yelling at me. I've told you time and time again, do not yell at me. I don't appreciate it. No, you don't listen. You don't listen." And I was just sitting there looking at him. I was at a complete loss. I didn't know what to say in response or if I should say anything at all. I contemplated just jumping out of the car, but nixed that idea when I realized the door lock was missing.
What?
There was just a silver lined hole where it should have been.
Oh my
I
god.
started to cry and debate with myself about causing an accident by grabbing the wheel and hoping for the best. When he suddenly looked at me for the first time since I had gotten in the car. He blinked several times, rapidly, then slowed the car, pulling into a gas station. I waited to see if he unlocked the doors, not wanting to say anything to set him off again. After a minute or two, he quietly said, "I think I better let you out of here." And he hit the button to the door locks, and he opened the door. I wasn't about to hesitate, so I jumped out of the car as if I were on fire. I was about to turn and walk into the gas station when he called my name. He looked so damn sad and I hesitated. He apologized, said he was sorry if he had frightened me, that he never would have harmed me. And he asked if I'd be able to get home okay. I said I would and closed the door. He began to pull out of the gas station, but stopped suddenly.
What?
He just sat there for a couple of moments, his head down, I froze, wondering what the hell was up, and was about to run into the gas station. But he opened his window and yelled at me, waving something in his hand. My hat. I left it on his seat. I slowly approached the side of his car, and he handed it to me, apologizing again. I didn't know what else to say, so I just said, thanks. I watched as he drove off, making sure he was out of sight before moving on so he wouldn't know which direction I was heading. As I walked, I went to put my hat back on, and a piece of paper fell out of it.
Huh?
Folded into a paper was a $100 bill. The paper said, "I'm sorry. Please take a cab and don't hitchhike anymore tonight." I didn't. In fact, it was the last time I ever hitchhiked in my life. Will never, ever do that again.
I would never do hitchhiking.
One evening when I was in my junior year of high school, my mom and dad went out, leaving me home alone. I had a lot of homework to do, so I spent the whole evening sitting at a desk in my bedroom. My parents left the house around 6 p.m. When I was doing my homework, I put on my headphones and I listened to loud music. There was a big storm that night, and my desk was facing the window, so I could see the rain and the lightning outside. My parents got back around 11 p.m. When I saw their car drive up, I took off the headphones. As soon as my mom opened the front door and came inside, I heard her shout out my name. "What on earth happened in here?" She demanded in an angry voice. Confused, I ran downstairs. My mom was standing in the hallway with a furious look on her face. She pointed at the floor and yelled, "Was this you?" I looked down and I saw that the carpet was covered in muddy footprints. "I have no idea how those got there," I said. "I spent the whole night at my desk doing my homework." I watched as the look on her face changed from anger to confusion, and then to fear.
What?
We both realized at the same time that someone else must have been in the house. We followed the trail of footprints, trying to make sense of the whole situation.
Oh my god,
They
you didn't
started at
know?
the back door, which we usually left unlocked. Then we noticed something else. The footprints started at the back door, but there was no trail of footprints leaving through the back door.
Huh?
All of a sudden, we hear something loud, a pounding noise that echoed throughout the house. Then the sound of the front door being wrenched open and slammed shut again. We all ran into the garage and locked the door behind us. My mom took out her cell phone and called the police. She told them to come quickly as she shouted that someone's in our house. After what seemed like hours, a patrol car arrived with 2 police officers, a male and a female. One officer stayed with us in the garage, while his partner went through the house, searching room by room. When she came back, the female officer told us that there was no one in the house, and it was safe to go back in. As we were all breathing a high sigh of relief, she asked, "Whose bedroom is upstairs on the left?" My parents looked at me. "It's mine," I told the officer. She asked us to follow her. As we walked through the house, we could see the trail of muddy footprints leading from the back door, through the living room, through the hallway, up the stairs, into my parents' bedroom, then towards my room.
What?
They stopped at my doorway. The female officer pointed at my door, which had been open the whole night. Scrawled on it in black marker was the following: 8:47, I see you. 8:53, you forgot to lock the back door. 8:59, you seem focused. 9:24, turn around. 9:47, look at me. 10:15, look at me. 10:37, look at me. 10:49, look at me. For more than 2 hours, someone had been standing in my doorway. watching me. To this day, I still shudder to think
Skip this shit.
what would have happened if I
Never
had
mind.
just
Okay.
turned around.
He's been dead.
Skip this shit.
This story happened about 3 years ago.
Why is it so common horror story here that always someone goes inside your house and do something bad? There's so many psychos. It's scaring me off.
When I was 16, I had my first boyfriend, Ben, who just so happened to be my next door neighbor. For the first few months of dating, we were going fine, up until I had dinner at Ben's house one evening. His dad, Graham, gave me the creeps. From the first moment I ever met him, he was creepy to me. He shook my hand tightly and had a big grin on his face with his big bulging eyes. At the dinner, I swear Graham never took his eyes off of me at all. Every now and then, I would glance over to see if he was still staring at me, and of course he was. From then on, I spent more time around Ben's house. We would watch movies in his room, play video games, and just study homework. Whenever I was at Ben's house, his dad would always be lingering around. Like he would always burst into the bedroom without knocking, asking things like, "How's everything?" or "I thought I heard you calling me." Basically an excuse to come in. It's like he wanted to catch us doing something, if you know what I mean. And whenever I would go to the bathroom, of course, he would try and come in, even though the door was locked.
Oh my god,
He
this
would
is so
knock and say,
creepy.
"Oh, I didn't realize someone was in the bathroom." This creepy stuff went on for a while, maybe about 2 months, but there was one incident that really scared me. Ben asked if I can go to the basement and grab a couple of pops. I went down there and looked around in the fridge to see what drinks they had. Then I heard the door close. It was the basement door. And then his dad came walking down the steps.
Oh my god.
He asked me what I was doing down there, and I told him I was just grabbing some pop for myself and Ben. I smiled and walked past him and headed up the stairs. I tried to open the basement door, but it was locked. His dad locked it behind him. I turned around and said, "Sir, could you help? The door is stuck." He didn't reply. I went back downstairs and I saw his dad with his top off, rolling a can of Sprite on his body, saying, "It's a hot day, isn't it?" I was extremely uncomfortable. And I asked once more, "Could you open the door because it seemed to be stuck?" I didn't say lock because I didn't want him to know I was uncomfortable. He said to me, "Here's the key," and placed it on a small table next to him. And then he said, "Come and get it," while smiling with his tongue rubbing against his teeth. I let out a nervous, awkward laugh as I thought he was joking. He wasn't. I crouched down to grab the key, but just as I did, I could feel his face near mine, and he was smelling my hair. I could hear him, really close, breathing in through his nose.
Ew.
As soon as I got the key, I sped, walked up the stairs to open the basement door. I just left at that point, and I went home and cried in my bedroom. I never told anyone this story, and I broke up with Ben shortly after this incident. We lived there for 2 more years after that, until we moved away. Every now and then, I would see his dad in his garden or something, and he would always give me that same creepy smile like he did in the basement. My name is Chris, and this story happened to me last year when I was
Why
traveling
didn't
with my dad across the United States.
Why didn't he tell his boyfriend that the dad is creeping her out? I don't understand it. Yeah, sorry about bursting it out.
We were traveling in our RV. We were visiting Nevada. And of course, we had to go and check out Area 51. By the time we got there, it was pretty late and quite dark out. So we thought we would just park the RV, sleep, and check it out in the morning. That night, I think around 1 a.m. my dad was asleep, and I was playing some games on my iPad when I heard some footsteps outside our RV. I took one of my earplugs out so I could listen better, and it sounded like someone was slowly pacing. I took a subtle peek through our blinds. It was pitch black, but You could kind of see something moving. I woke my dad up telling him someone is out there. He took a look out the window and then told me to get a flashlight. I asked him, "You're not going out there, are you?" In a concerned voice, of course. But my dad said, "We have to see what it is." Nervously, we both went outside. We shone our light towards the figure. It looked to be a man with his back toward us.
Eh?
My dad spoke out. "Hello?" No answer, or even any movement. My dad spoke again. "Hello? Can you hear me?" As we slowly got closer, you could see the man was wearing some kind of gown, like a hospital gown that patients wear. The man was still unresponsive. We got close enough to tap him on the shoulder, and the man slowly turned around. He looked kind of pale, as like a ghost, and his eyes were black, like they weren't even human. He stared right at us, and my dad stepped back in shock. Then we heard a noise. It was more footsteps. My dad shined his light in a direction, and what was right in front of us were more men. Men in patient gowns, black eyes, looking
Is-
right at us.
Aliens?
Me and my dad ran back into the RV and drove as fast as we could away from the Area 51.
Area
We
51?
spent the rest of the night in the motel we found. We never went back to Area 51 after that. A few years ago when I was in college, I would take odd jobs to pay my half of the rent. One day in particular, I was babysitting a set of twin boys that were 3 years old. The mother told me she hired me because she would only hire men due to her crazy ex-husband. I was confused when she told me that, so I asked why. She showed me a picture of him and said not to answer the door for him, don't let him in, and to not let him see the kids. I just said okay. I thought she was being dramatic, but I went along with it. After she left, the kids seemed harmless, so I told my girlfriend to come over. After that, there was a knock at the door. I figured it was her, so I opened the door.
Oh, shite.
It was the ex-husband. This guy looked a lot scarier in real life than he did in the pictures. He towered over me with tattoos everywhere, including his neck, a bald head, and gold teeth. He asked to see his kids. I didn't know what to do, so I just told him, hold on, and I closed the door. I really didn't know what to do, so I called the woman and she didn't answer. So I texted her. Still nothing. Eventually, he started knocking on the door some more. But I would talk through the door, letting him know that I can't let him in, nor could I let the children out to see him due to the mother's request. He didn't like that too much. I stopped talking, then the knocking stopped. And the man said, okay. But it was an okay that sounded like he was going to get me back for not letting him in.
Oh my god.
I look outside and I see that he pulled off. I didn't call the police because he left. So my girlfriend texted me and it said she'll be there in 2 minutes. Then a few minutes go by and she isn't there yet. Then I see one of the twins looking out the window and he says, there's Daddy. I look out the window and I saw the most disturbing thing you could think of. The man was on top of my girlfriend, stabbing her repeatedly in the side of her head with a screwdriver.
Oh my god.
Her body was shaking, but she wasn't making any noise. And there was blood everywhere, all over her head, face, ground, and that man. I wanted to burst out of that door to help her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I called the police. The man just stood there, staring at the house. He never tried to escape, just waited for the police as if he were crazy. The twins' mother and the cop showed up at the same time, and she was hysterical, going between Spanish and English while crying. I felt numb, guilty, and ashamed that I called my girlfriend over, and she was killed. And I was a coward that stayed in the house. Till this day, I still feel the guilt. When I was 10 years old, I stayed at home by myself for the first time while my parents went out for a date. I was really into horror movies, so my imagination ran wild, so I had every light on in the house. I was scared, honestly, but not so much due to the lights. My parents told me they would be back by 10, so I wasn't really worried. I had food, blockbuster movies to watch, and my favorite game, Manhunt, on my PS2.
PS2.
By the way, this was 2004.
2000,
It
yeah.
started to get dark outside when all of a sudden a storm hit. Then the lights went out. As soon as it happened, I ran into our living room near the front of the house with my flashlight. I was definitely afraid now. I decided to get under the covers on the couch. I tried to fall asleep, but I was so afraid I couldn't. I don't know why, but I peeked out from under the covers, and I swear, I saw the silhouette of a man in the corner of the room.
What the fart?
I jumped back under my covers, breathing heavily. Then all I heard was slow, methodical footsteps. They were coming toward me. Then I heard whispering along with the footsteps. My heart was pumping out of my chest at this point. Then the sound stopped. I just laid there frozen. No sound.
Eh?
I got up and ran out of the house because it felt like someone touched my arm. And I know I heard someone yell the word go. I pretty much ran out of the house with the blanket over my head. I ran to my neighbor's house. I told them what happened and they called the cops from their cell phones. My parents arrived a little later than they expected due to bad traffic. They seemed angry about what happened. The police say that there was no evidence of a break-in. I still to this day remember that feeling of fear, but I really don't know if it were my imagination or not.
That is so scary.
About a year ago in my final semester in college, I worked at a department store in the mall. I didn't have a car yet, so I asked for the day shifts because it was a 2-hour bus ride back home. So basically, if I had a closing shift, I'd get done at 11 but not get home until around 1 a.m. But sometimes I'd be given a closing shift, much to my annoyance since I had class at 6 a.m. And my mother worries about me because who wants their kid on public transportation at night? My managers, being the jerks that they were, gave me a week of closing shifts, knowing my situation. I was pissed, but whatever. So one night, I had just finished my shift and I got on the bus. I sat in the middle of the bus. I was minding my own business with my earbuds in. I usually did that because I didn't like people talking to me, so I made it look like I was listening to music.
Oh, that is why I don't wear earphones, earbuds, or headsets on the public transport.
And I occupied myself by playing a crossword puzzle on my phone. About 5 seats behind me, I hear these guys speaking Spanish. Now, my mother is Dominican, but people never know that I am, so while I understand a fair bit of Spanish, I don't speak it. So I hear them talking, but I don't pay any attention because it's rude to eavesdrop. All until they say, "That kid in front of us." Then my ears perk up. I keep my earbuds in so that they think I can't hear them. And I continue to listen. What they're saying is horrific. To paraphrase it, they knew my stop because they've been watching me for this week. And to put it simply, they were planning on snatching me.
Oh my
I
god.
heard them say that I'll disappear like the others. I was about 20 minutes away from home, so I knew I had to act quickly. Since I knew they could see me, there were 5 seats behind me, but like a cross, if that makes sense. I pretended to play on my phone, oblivious while I was actually texting my mom. Then all of a sudden, one of the guys moved 3 seats ahead of me, and the other one moved about 3 seats behind me. And we're the last ones on the bus. I text my mom, "Can you please meet me at the bus stop?" 5 minutes go by, no answer. We're getting closer to my stop, so I decided to call her cell. No answer. I call the house phone and she finally answers. At this point, it's about 12:30 a.m., so she was asleep. I try to talk as calmly as I can. This was our conversation. Hey, Mom, did you get my text? No. What's up? Oh, I sent you a picture of these jeans I'm going to order online when I get home. I really need your opinion, so I really need you to look, since the sale ends at 1 a.m. She gets the hint that I need her to look at her cell phone. So I say goodbye, and I hope for the best. I tied my Adidas very tight. We get to my stop, and I see my mom's car. I stand up. Then the man in front of me stands up. Then the guy behind me stands up. I snatch my stuff and I sprint to the door, and I got off the bus with both men behind me, both yelling at each other to grab me. I didn't even look behind me. My mom sees the whole thing and jumps out of the car. I yell at her to get back in the car because they couldn't catch me. A hard ass. I jump in the car and I tell my mom, just go. I look in the rear view and I see the guys staring at the car.
They're pissed.
The next morning, I called my job and I tell them that I quit. No more public transportation for me. Thanks to my mom for teaching me Spanish. And thanks to my mom for getting the hint.
Thanks, my mom, for teaching me Spanish. Oh my god. Okay, this is the final straw.
First, a little background information. I worked the night shift at a local gas station when I was 19. I was the only employee in the store, as usual. On Christmas Eve, I had to work the overnight, 10 p.m. into 6 a.m. into Christmas Day. It was a normal night. No customers, and my cleaning was almost finished. I had just got done eating and decided to go out for a smoke when I hear someone walking towards the store in the distance. Now, this was nothing out of the ordinary until the person gets to the pumps and I can actually see them. It was a male, about 5'9" and somewhat thin. He was wearing a dark hoodie, jeans, and was carrying a gift bag. As he got closer, though, I noticed that he was bleeding from his forehead.
Eh?
As he approached me, I asked if he was okay and if he needed any help. I noticed that the bag was empty, which should have been my first red flag. The guy looked me in the eyes, looking dead inside, and said, "You want to help? Then don't call the fucking cops." I agreed and told him that there was a first aid kit inside and that I'd be happy to help him with his wound. Crazy, I know, but I was just trying to be nice to him since he was someone who could be a threat to me. We went inside the store and I got the first aid kit. As I pulled out the stuff for him to clean himself up with, he said he needed to use the restroom and once again told me not to call the cops. I told myself that if he wasn't out of the bathroom within a reasonable amount of time, I was going to call the police. He didn't come out, so I went outside and called. The dispatcher told me to stay out of the store and find somewhere safe to be until the
I'm
officers
gonna
arrived.
get out of here now. I
I
have to
stood at
sleep.
the side of the store
Okay.
where he wouldn't be able to see
Night,
good one.
Chibi. Okay.
Night.
Night.
No, it's just me and you.
me, but I could see if he was in the
Rose!
bathroom.
I've been watching thing for how many minutes now?
The police arrived and asked where he was.
I'm watching Harry Potter. I'm
I
playing Harry
pointed and
Potter.
went in.
Come on.
Just as they got to the door, he
What?
opened it and tried to lunge at one of the officers.
Oh my god.
They tackled him, threw a knife that he was holding, and promptly arrested him.
Chibi,
As
I
we
miss
were
you
walking out of
now.
the store, he told me that I was lucky that the police got there when they did, and
Why?
that he'd see me again soon.
What?
I was a little shook by that. One of the officers came to take my statement after the other took the guy away. I told the officer what had all happened, and then I asked something I really wish I didn't know the answer to.
What?
What was he doing in the bathroom? The officer told me that it was a good thing that I called when I did, because the guy had shot up some heroin in the bathroom, then was going to come out with a knife, stab me, and run with what money was in the register. That's what the bag was for. This guy had a lot of problems and a lot of anger inside of him.
Oh my
The
god.
reason he was so angry was also the reason his head was bleeding. He owed his dealer money and got beat because of it. His solution to the problem was robbing the store. The officer told me if I didn't call when I did, I'd either be critically wounded or dead because he wasn't going to allow me to stand between him and that money. I hope I never see that crazy drug addict who wanted to kill me to free himself of debt again.
Why is there some sort of happenings like
One
this?
time I went to the bar with one of my friends. I had just turned 21, so I haven't been to many bars up to that point. My friend was drinking on the way to the bar, so he was already pretty drunk when we got there. When I sat at the bar, a cute girl came and talked to me and my friend. She said her name was Candace, and I noticed she had really, really bright red hair. I
Okay.
assume she dyed it. I mean, it was pretty, but unnatural. Anyways, the girl was flirting with me and my friend. She could tell my friend was already very drunk. To be honest, I played along like I was drunk already too, since it seemed to be working for my friend. I didn't know if she was just trying to get free drinks, so I told her we didn't have much money. She then offered to buy us drinks. She kept buying us drinks, and I started to get confused as to who she liked between me and my friend. My friend went to the bathroom. Before he came back, he was kicked out by the bouncers.
Huh?
He was way too drunk.
What the hell?
Candace and I went outside with him. She kept telling him to go home with her. He was so out of it, he could barely answer her. I told her he was too drunk and that I couldn't let him go anywhere. I didn't want him to wake up hungover in some random house with no car and no idea what happened. Candace kept pushing it, saying that she would take good care of him, but I told her no because I had to stay with him. I was more sober than him and he was my responsibility. I told her the only way he was going anywhere was if I tagged along. I assumed she thought I was jealous or cock blocking, but my friend could barely stand and lost interest in Candace already at that point. She immediately started flirting with me and offered to get my friend a taxi to drive home, and said we could go to her place alone.
No?
At this point I had a few drinks and I was already buzzed, so I agreed. We took my friend to the taxi and walked to her car. I slightly stumbled on the way to her car.
Wow, you're pretty drunk, huh?
She said, smiling as she held onto my arm. Yeah, I said. I don't know why, but I just felt slightly shy and anxious. Everything was just happening too easy for me, so I felt uneasy. We got in her car and we drove down the street.
You want to stop at the liquor store and get some more to drink? I'll buy it.
What,
Right
bro?
now.
She offered.
Why is
I didn't
this
want to drink any.
this story is like the girl is more aggressive. The girl is so aggressive with this guy.
More than I already did. I mean, I was already buzzed and wanted to be able to carry myself throughout the rest of the night. Sometimes I made myself look stupid when I'm drunk, so I didn't want to ruin anything with Candace more than I already did earlier with telling her my friend was too drunk. I
The
told
hell?
her I was already drunk enough, but she insisted. I didn't want to seem lame, so I told her to get me a pint of liquor with some apple juice to chase it. She went into the store and came out with a lot more than just a pint.
What?
I assumed she wanted to drink more also, and that's why she got a fifth instead of a pint. On the car ride, we passed the bottle back and forth, but she took tiny sips. I tried to take tiny sips, but she kept passing me the bottle and telling me to drink. I somehow managed to drink all of my apple juice, and I pretend to drink the bottle by spitting the liquor into the apple juice bottle. I tossed the apple juice bottle full of liquor out the window before she even saw it. I didn't want her to know that I was acting drunker than I was. I mean, she
What?
actually believed I was sloppy drunk when I was simply buzzed. I took a
Okay.
couple more sips of liquor and then finished the bottle. Throughout the car ride, I called her the wrong name a couple of times to get a reaction out of her. She didn't react to it. She just kept letting me call her Carla without correcting me. For some reason, I thought maybe she lied to me about her name initially. We drove up to her house, and I pretended to trip and stumble into her front door. She helped me walk inside by holding me up. She opened her front door, which was unlocked, and we walked into her house. She closed her front door and then she locked it. I thought that was strange, but assumed she didn't want anyone walking in on us. I told her that I had to use the bathroom. I walked into her bathroom, locked the door, and looked in the mirror. I just felt strange. I felt like something was off. I felt myself becoming more drunk from finishing the bottle earlier. I turned on the sink to make noise and made myself puke up the liquor I drank. I flushed, went to the sink, and started drinking the tap water out of my hands to sober up. I just didn't want to be drunk, but I still wanted to hook up with Candace, so I pretended to be
I
drunk.
want to play Resident
I turned off the
Evil.
sink and I could hear her talking to someone.
Oh my god.
He's drunk as hell. He can barely stand up. You did it.
Who was she talking to and do what?
She's plotting
I walked into the
something.
bathroom and into the living room. The moment I stepped into the living room, I saw her walking into another room. All I could see was the back of her head, that strange, very bright red hair go into another room. I didn't see her face or anything. I just saw her kind of walk fast into the room. The living room was pretty dark. Hey, where you going? I slurred like I was drunk. She walked back into the dark living room and up to me.
Let's go in my room.
She said. I looked at her bright red hair and then into her eyes. They were different. Her whole face was different.
Eh?
It was another girl with the same hair. And that's when I realized it was another girl with the same wig on. It was a wig the whole time. She changed it with the girl from earlier for whatever reason. My heart felt like it stopped. But I
What?
tried to look like I had no idea it was a different girl. I kind of smiled at her and told her I needed to use the bathroom one more time and told her sorry I was so drunk. She said,
It's fine. Just hurry up in there.
I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I heard her whisper something to someone again. This time I think I heard a male voice whisper back. I honestly didn't concentrate on listening to exactly what she said, but something sketchy was going on, and I had to get out of that house. I opened the bathroom window and jumped straight out of it, and ran faster than I ever have in my entire life. I didn't look behind myself or anything. I just ran straight through the backyard, jumped the fence, ran through someone else's backyard, hit a road, and ran towards the main road. I kept running down the main road until I saw a Star CVS. I ran into the CVS and stood straight at the front of the store in front of the camera. I called a taxi and went home. I try to think of what happened that night. What was she or they planning that night? Why did she tell me a fake name? Why was she trying to get my friend and I so drunk? I thought maybe a robbery, but she kept spending money on us. She kept buying us drinks and even paid for my friend's taxi cab. And mostly, why did she wear a wig that she gave to another girl to wear? Who was she
Yeah.
talking to? What did it mean? And what was in that room they tried to lure me into? The next day after this incident, I went back to the house with a couple of friends to see just what was going on. Nobody was there. No cars, no people, nothing. Just an empty house. I ended up finding out that the house was a summer rental. And whoever those people were, they broke into that house and used it for only that night and never came back. Anyways, that's my story.
Maybe they are trying to sell his kidneys. That's
Yeah,
all.
not the kidneys.
I mean, it looks so sketchy. Like if he didn't pretended to be drunk, if he didn't pretended to be drunk, he would have been killed. Or like they will do something to him inside that room. It's either they're gonna kill him and steal some
Yeah,
organ
I've
and sell
seen
it
that story before.
because it looks so sketchy right from the start. Like the girl is like spending a lot of money from their drinks,
Yeah.
paid for the cab and everything. Like why would you spend a lot if you will not gain anything from it, right? So I am thinking that they are planning to get some part of his organs to sell in the
It
black
was about
market.
3 in the morning, and I was on my way to my job at my local McDonald's to open with one of my favorite
That's why I
managers
don't
there
like
with
going
me.
out.
She told me to text her when I got there so that she could let me inside. Once I pulled in,
Oh, I've watched this. I've watched this before. I've watched the McDonald's story before. So that's what I am thinking about. He just they wanted to take his kidneys.
My family and I live in Arizona, and we occasionally visit our Navajo family in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We left early to get there by noon or less. It is a very long and boring trip there, but we get there before noon and we have time to mess around and talk with our extended family. And we, kids, start to play around till the evening starts to show. The house is too small for everyone to fit and sleep in. Some of the kids have to sleep in the trailer and truck camper, but two of my cousins and I had the amazing luck of sleeping in the old, slightly torn tent.
Why would you sleep in a torn tent? What the hell? Eh.
We are well asleep at this point, and for some unknown reason, I wake up. Of course, I'm still tired and rubbing my eyes while yawning, meaning I wasn't well aware of my surroundings. Once I finish rubbing my eyes, I look straight at the entrance of the tent and see a figure, illuminated by the back porch light, standing in front of the tent.
What the hell?
At first I was scared, but thought it was my other cousins just messing with us. As this person was still standing outside our tent looking at us, I turned to one of my older cousins who was 2 years older than me to wake him up and tell him that someone was standing outside of our tent. He tries to brush me off, but I persist and he turns to me and asks me what I wanted. I tell him to look at the entrance of the tent, and he does. I've never seen someone go from the brink of sleep to sheer panic and alertness in their eyes that fast before. He looks at me with this panicked face and tells me to be quiet. He whispers to me that it's a skinwalker and that we need to be quiet again. We lay there for the longest time, and from my memory, it was at least an hour or more.
Skinwalker?
We were just about to go back to sleep because it hadn't done anything. Then it started to move around the tent.
Oh my god.
Remember when I said this was an old tent? Yeah, it had some holes in it.
Oh my god. Don't peek at it, you idiot.
Holes was the size of a quarter, and I decided to be brave. As it continues to walk around the tent a fourth time, I slowly crawl towards the hole and try to take a look. As I did this, my cousin told me to get back to the bed or it'll hurt us. Of course, as a kid, I ignored the warning. I'm at the quarter-size hole and looking out to see whatever it was.
What is this,
It
Rose?
comes around the hole, and what I saw was bone-chilling.
What?
Bone chilling.
Being chilly?
It wanted to hurt him.
I bolt back and hide under my sleeping bag while my cousin does the same.
Huh.
This thing decided to stop moving and start looking at us again. I hid under the covers and spent every ounce of energy being scared.
Okay.
And then I finally fell asleep.
You can fall asleep because you are so scared?
I woke up early, maybe around 5, and I decided to look around the tent to see if there was anything there. I see footprints, bare footprints that send shivers throughout my body. I saw the footprints move around the tent. This hit me hard because I was now realizing it wasn't a dream. As I further investigate the footprints, I noticed that it went off track. It went off to the rocky hills nearby where we were staying at. I follow the track to the hills, about a football field away from the house. As I continue to follow the tracks, something strange and scary happens. It goes from 2 footprints walking for a while to footprints and handprints in the dirt starting to form. I found that kinda strange because no person would do that out here. As I followed the tracks further into the hills, the hands and feet started to get smaller and smaller. It then suddenly changed into coyote paw prints. That is when I stopped and turned back home, first walking fast, then onto a full-on run. When I got back, I sat down on the back porch for a while and thought about telling my family, but I didn't think that they would believe me. In the end, I didn't tell anyone, even the cousin I woke up in the middle of the night. Well, that's my story. I urge you guys to not go into the Navajo reservation to go looking for them. You will bite off more than you can chew. We, my people, take these beings very seriously and do our best to not talk about them. Even though I broke this code, I just thought to warn you guys about them. Whoever is listening are the first people to hear this story. I had a few more stories to tell, but this is by far the scariest one I had.
Yeah, indeed. That's so scary.
Corpse husband. Yeah,
That's
that
why
guy.
that's why that's why yeah, corpse husband. It's I want that's why I have this like eerie story before, like the reason I don't sleep. I don't know if I told chat about it. The reason that I don't sleep without any, like in a very quiet place, because I have a very very bad experience at the province before. Like I stayed somewhere in a very old house, ancestral house of my aunt, and it's just being scary. It's just scary.
Mhm.
And then um I don't like it when like people turn off the light to sleep, and I was like, how could you sleep with the lights turned off? And I was like, I have a experience with sleep paralysis.